Step right up. On today's video, we're going to be talking about Guillermo del Toro's latest Nightmare Alley. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you guys are new to our show or content, we are a nonprofit which creates content like what you're watching right now simply to educate and engage individuals like yourself on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. And on this episode, like I said, we're talking about the latest from Guillermo del Toro. Nightmare Alley is a remake of the 1947 movie of the same exact name, which stars Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, Ron Perlman, and a whole heck of a lot more people. Cooper plays a con man who gets into the circus world as a carny and eventually learns how to become a psychic, for lack of a better word. And from here, he is able to essentially create a new life for himself as a grifter and a con man. And up until a con goes horribly wrong. First things like this, I want to say this, just say this right out the gate. Bradley Cooper is an actor that I am slowly starting to really just respect the mess out of. Cooper, I feel like in like the early 2010s was like an actor that would just be like very comedic with the Hangover trilogy, and even to a lesser extent to his role as Rocket Raccoon in the MCU. And he just took on these like very comedic roles. He took on these like very like heartthrobby roles. But in recent memory, like when he shows up, like, I mean, he is giving Oscar-worthy top-tier performances. A Star is Born just literally had my jaw on the floor by the time the credits rolled on that movie, and I stayed away from that movie simply because I'm like, this guy is a heartthrob who does comedies, and I just had this very narrow view of him, and that movie forever changed my life and view on him as an actor. And here in Nightmare Alley, it is 100% the same exact thing. Bradley Cooper, for like the first like 30 minutes of this movie, doesn't really say all that much. He is able to convey emotion and simplicity simply just by the glares and the body language he's able to convey. And as his character slowly starts to open up as the film develops, it's just really such a thing of beauty to get to see how he encapsulates so much of this charisma and this charm, but also this deceit. And it's just such a spectacular performance. And speaking of performances, there is not a lame performance in this. Like, every performance that you are seeing and experiencing in here, it is immersing you as a viewer into this carnival world, into this grifter world, into this post-depression era of carnivals and sideshows that we are experiencing for its 2 hour and 30-minute runtime. And whether you're talking about Willem Dafoe, Toni Collette, Rooney Mara, Ron Perlman, Cate Blanchett, I mean, the list of performers and talent in this movie goes on and on and on. If this movie was digging a grave, the talent in it would overflow. Performances are insanely good in this movie. And with that, Del Toro is able to craft a really immersive, like I said, immersive is the best word I can use to describe how this movie pulls you in, because it feels like a classic noir film. Like, we don't really get films like this. Like, this film to me feels like the first time that I ever watched Sin City with its use of shadows and lights. This movie is able to really bring that larger than life world of crime and drama to a new generation. Almost kind of feels like Hitchcockian a little bit, and it is wonderful. I love the use of shadows and lights in this certain way, certain angles of how actors and actresses are shaped and blocked in the course of this movie, and how their faces are lit or illuminated, like just really brings you into this world. That said, I will say my only complaint about this movie is probably the first act of this movie. It definitely does take its time, and the rest of the movie, acts 2 and 3, like, you are just literally on the edge of your seat from start until finish. And like I said, you are just drawn into this world, but so much of the first act it's very dry. It feels like it's almost searching for its voice initially. And that's fine. But in hindsight, like, when you're sitting there, it's like, man, like, I feel the weight of this right now. But that said, this is another star-studded performance film, and this is another just truly great movie from Guillermo del Toro. Del Toro is one of the very few directors working in Hollywood today that I actually get excited about. Like, Del Toro is probably among one of my favorite directors, and although I'm not always 100% on board with the films that he may be producing, like, there are definitely some low points in his filmography, but I'm still here for it, and I love an actor. I love a director that's definitely stretching his limits on what he's able and capable to bring to the screen. And this being his follow-up to Shape of Water, this feels so much different than Shape of Water, tonally and visually speaking, but it still packs the same punch as Shape of Water. So I'm just going to run this through our Rorschach rating scale. This is easily a 4.5 out of 5 for me. I absolutely love this film. This is one of the best movies that you will see this year. I definitely think that this is the one that is unfortunately going to get overshadowed by Spider-Man, but nonetheless, also make sure that you guys subscribe to us wherever you guys get your podcast from, because our Spider-Man episode is dropping in the near future. All of that said, this movie from start to finish, its performances, its use of lights, its sound and score, so much of this movie is immersive, it's impactful, it's emotional, and it is just spectacular from start until finish. The last frame of this movie shook me to my core. His use of foreshadowing is great. Like, I feel like I could go on about why this movie is so freaking good. Please go check out Nightmare Alley. That said, it's time to talk about our mental health moment for this film. If you guys are new to our content, mental health moment is where we analyze a theme of mental health and or something encouraging from the film that we are reviewing, and expound upon it for just a few moments. There's a line in the very first act where Bradley Cooper's character is having a conversation with another carny, and he goes, the carny looks to Bradley Cooper and says, you know, all carnies are the same. Correction, he says all people are the same. They're just looking to be seen. And that line comes up a couple more times in the film, but I just wanted to say that, like, there is some validity to what he's saying here. Yes, all of us in some way, shape, or form want to be seen. We want to be validated. We want to be loved. We want to be cared for. We want to be told that we matter. And I don't know how you got here. I don't know if you're subscribed to this channel, if you ended up, this came up as one of the search suggestions. I just want to encourage you and tell you that you do matter, that you do have value, and that even if it doesn't feel like it, even if it, you woke up and the rest of the world feels like it's falling down around you, you matter. And the world is a better place because of it. And so I just want to encourage you that if you're struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts or addiction or self-harm or any of those things, to please consider the links in our descriptions below. And that said, I just want to encourage you guys to please go check out Nightmare Alley and check out our mental health resource library. If I don't see you guys, happy holidays.